Hello, Internet. It's been a while, right? I said I was gonna vlog on the way down, and it just didn't happen. I've been super tired and kinda homesick. Really homesick, actually, but doing good. For those of you who don't know, I moved from Seattle down to the San Francisco Bay Area. I made this trek exactly 1 week ago, and I just recently got all my stuff, so I've been moving everything in. So I've talked about in previous videos that I moved around a lot, even when I was in Seattle. But that was, in cities. So this has been my second big move. And because I've moved around a lot, I've become fairly minimalist. Everything I have pretty much fits in one room. And I'd like to say that that's because my parents are fairly minimalist, and I don't want to give the impression that they're hoarders because they're not, but my mom especially is very sentimental. She loves scrapbooking. She likes to keep stuff in the event that she might use it later. And I have gotten out of that habit partially through moving, but through one fairly traumatic event. And that was my first big move. My freshman year of college, my sister and I packed up a Chevy Corsica that she had purchased that was going to be both our car to share in Seattle. And my friend Kristen helped us as well. She packed up her car with some of our stuff. And we drove out from Spokane to Seattle. And if you're not familiar with the drive, it's mostly desert until you hit the Snoqualmie Pass. And then it starts to get evergreen and pretty and whatnot. And it's not even really pretty desert, if I can be bold. Like Arizona, New Mexico, gorgeous desert. Eastern Washington, not so much. So as we were about a little under halfway, the gas pedal of the Corsica stops being super effective. Like, you're flooring it and you're still losing speed. It was around this time that I noticed that there was white, smoky steam coming out of the front of the car, which never a good sign. So we pulled over to check on it, and we opened the hood, and that happy little white steam suddenly transformed into billowing black smoke, and flames spurred up, and it was terrifying, and we dropped the hood immediately. But cars are open on the bottom, which is great for mechanics, but not so great if you're trying to take the oxygen away from the fire. So that was still spreading, and I calmly walked over to my friend Kristen's car and was like, "Say, do you happen to know how to fix an engine fire?" Because they didn't teach that in driver's ed. We had a few bottles of water from Costco that we futilely poured on it. That did nothing. Thankfully, I've learned that when other people freak out, I manage to stay calm. So my sister was kind of freaking out and pulling some stuff out of the trunk because we just bought new computers for, college. But we were also super worried that it might explode because our only experience with car fires was movies. Funny story. That's apparently a very rare thing. Rarely do cars ever just explode, which is good to know. Also, what would have been good to know at the time is that it takes 15 minutes for an engine fire to eat through the dashboard. So probably could have done a lot more if we'd known that. I had called 911, obviously, and been like, "Hey, my car's on fire," described where I was, and they said they would send someone out. And I remember my chief memory of this phone call was they told me to have a nice day at the end, and I felt really bad for them because they were probably just doing that totally on autopilot. All I could squeak out was, "My car's on fire!" And they hung up. So while she was pulling stuff out of the car, I was desperately trying to flag someone down. And lo and behold, like out of a movie, this giant RV just pulls up, door opens up, and this guy, like marathon looking guy, comes jogging out with this tiny pathetic little fire extinguisher, but he looked really impressive as he ran and he tried to help us out and extinguish it, and it did nothing. Around that time, the cop finally showed up. And yes, I mean a cop. One highway patrolman showed up. What the crap are you gonna do? Arrest the fire? There was no arsonist. There was no foul play. I just needed someone to put my car out. And that's when I got to learn about fire lines. Now, obviously, cops have areas that are within their jurisdiction, and funny story, essentially fire departments do as well. And there is such thing as being between fire lines. That there is no water supply that far out. Fire hydrants and whatnot, there was nowhere for them to draw water. So we were basically informed that we were gonna have to watch the car just burn. And the only reason the cop was there was to make sure that the fire didn't spread to any of the very dry brush or whatnot that was around the highway, because a brush fire can happen in Eastern Washington, and if that happens, then they have to get the big helicopters with the buckets of water dropping, and it's not pretty. So I understand why he was there, but that was the most upsetting thing I have ever learned, is that you could
be between fire lines, that there was a point on a highway where your car could be on fire and blazing, and there's nothing anyone can do for you. I remember sitting on the side of the road completely gross and sweaty and covered in dust, and this car pulls up. It was a very nice old convertible, and the best way I could describe these two people to you is imagine Barbie and Ken 35 years after their prime, but still clinging to it, so wearing the sports jacket that's pushed up, and then her with her overly bleached blonde hair and tans that kind of made them look like Oompa Loompas. And I remember hearing the officer ask them what they were doing. I'll never forget this. This jackass has the gall to say, "Oh, just looking," in that big, like, smug ass, "Look, honey, let's go watch the peasants' things burn." It's a good thing that cop was there, because I might have killed that guy. I was not in a good mental place. On the bright side, the cop was really awesome and told them, yeah, no you're not, and get the hell out. And the funny thing is we would make that drive somewhat often to go visit our parents for holidays and such. And for about 2.5, maybe 3 years, there was a scorch mark on that part of I-90. It was from our car. Be like, hey. So because of that, I pack only what I really want to take with me. And I look through all of my stuff and I ask myself one simple question. Are you really gonna use this later? Or are you just gonna hold on to it until it burns in a Chevy Corsica? Have a good day, guys.